Ryan, welcome.
Hey Gavin, how you
How you
doing?
doing? We have this fun little
Awesome.
thing that we do to be professionals, and we run the logo. So let's reveal it. Awesome.
Ooh,
Fancy, huh? Look at your
very.
nice background there. You look like such a filmmaker with all your wonderful toys and much cooler headphones than I have.
But these are
Uh
my cheapies that just work for the phone. So yeah.
nice. Well, welcome to Reveal, and you've had a pretty big debut here with several projects that we'll talk about today. The whole gist of the show is just to get audiences familiar with creators on Reveal, let them know what's out there and what they should be looking for when they watch. Let's go in order of creation. Which does that start with Skin Deep or it
No,
starts with Ink?
it would start with ink. Yes.
So Ink is a documentary.
Mhm.
How did you find this? Maybe set up what Ink is and how you found your subject.
Ink is a short documentary about handwriting and calligraphy, and as if the lost art of handwriting. Because back in 2015, when we filmed this, and also currently today, most people don't handwrite anything anymore. Everything's texting, and actually everything's swiping now. We don't actually even type that much anymore. And a friend of mine, Tanya, um, who's a professional photographer in the city, was really getting into calligraphy and inks and like getting back to the written word of things. And post Snow, which was a feature I did, I was kind of like on the lookout for something to do essentially, because it was you don't want to be that person who does one thing and then waits for the next thing. And I kept seeing my friend Tanya post more and more of these stills that they were taking of the work of the handwriting they were doing. And I'm like, man, it won't be that hard to make this look nice. I wonder what the story is behind there. So I approached Tanya and we went from there and just filmed the thing over the course of like a weekend, essentially. Yeah.
It's pretty. It's very beautiful. Like I find the way that you style the camera movements, the sort of slow dollies and things, really emulate the style of the art form, where there's a very patient technique to drawing some of this. And
Mm-hmm.
one of my favorite moments in it is the sort of like oops mistake, but but it's very silent. She acknowledges that she made the mistake and wipes it away with the ink drip and keeps going to it. I think that speaks to so much creativity that mistakes happen, and if you're a pro, you move past it as quickly as possible and keep going.
Yeah.
um so did that how do you release a short documentary? Like, I know it's on Reveal now, but like, what's the path to have the world find this material?
For Ink was a bit of an outlier for me in that it
Hmm.
actually hit fairly big right after releasing it. And but the thing is, it didn't hit big on its own. It didn't go viral so much as I did a lot of blog and website targeting, and
Mm.
I looked up a lot of like writers on sites like The Verge, Gizmodo, Design Taxi, the CBC, the Globe and Mail as well, and I emailed them all, like mostly cold. I didn't know most of these people, and said, "Hey, here's something that I did recently. Here's why I think it might be a good fit for your site. Maybe it's in the case of The Verge, it was like you guys do this morning blog post that they did at the time that was like kind of recapping stuff on the internet and usually featured some cool, nice video for people to start their day off with." So I cold targeted a whole bunch of people, and a lot of them just said, "Yeah," and they posted it like the next day. So and from there it kind of spiraled out. And for a long time, that was my biggest hit. I think got like I don't know, like 70 or 80,000 views on Vimeo, which
Amazing.
kind of blew my mind because when anytime someone presses play on a YouTube video or a Vimeo video, they're choosing to watch your work,
Hmm.
which is not necessarily the case with a film festival, because a lot of film festivals, like, they do bulk programming or they play shorts off the top of a feature. So people are just kind of there for it and they get it by chance. It was something else to see that people wanted to watch it, and that was a really big boost for me at the time. And at the time I really needed.
I think you
So
you bring up an important point, that filmmakers can't just be the artists anymore. They also have to find ways to market their film, to push it out there, to make sure it finds an audience. There's no
mhm.
more if you build it, they will come. And I think most filmmakers that aren't doing that need to find a way. And what you did by targeting groups and outlets that might be interested in the subject matter is key. the rest of your films we're going to talk about are all sort of horror based or genre based films, and I think have you used similar techniques to reach out to horror blogs and things like that to get those attention?
I've tried. It's hard. You never know what's going to hit and what's going to resonate with people. And I find Ink was very much of the maker style of video. It was sort of doc, but also very much like cool looking images that are just nice. And that kind of resonates with a lot of people, even more so today, especially with like less so with like things like TikTok, but like Instagram video itself is like really focused on the visual style of things, which Ink service for that as well. For horror films, it's a harder racket, I find, to get those eyeballs on things because there are still like with Ink at the time, but there's so much content, and you can't really rely on like even like reviews of short films because who reads reviews of short films? You either watch it or you don't, and a few minutes later you've decided your own.
Well, it takes longer to read the review than watch the movie sometimes.
Exactly, exactly. So it's a bit of a harder thing that I've struggled with, and I found that I've had better luck working film festivals for that for genre film, but it still varies. And we can talk about one of them later. I think A Fistful of Molars is on Reveeel, and that one has a bit of a weird YouTube success story, which I don't know how to explain either, but we'll probably get to that after.
I mean, that's going viral. You never know what's going to hit and how it happens. So that's it. That's what I love about being, I'm also a filmmaker. So part of the Reveeel community, like the fact that there's a platform sort of dedicated to trying to get us, so much spotlight and attention. Let's do A Fistful of Molars. We'll jump order,
sure.
But since you brought it up, again,
I think it's still in order. Actually, I think that is in order.
Okay.
I think that'd be the next one because it was before Skin Deep. So
that's around when that's around when I met you. We met at the Blood in the Snow Film Festival. So, or no, it was a magazine.
I don't know.
Party. It was a magazine launch party, but a lot of the bits people were there.
Yeah.
And full disclosure, I know Ryan in real life. We both lived in Toronto at a point in time, and Ryan was one of the collaborators that we worked with to make the feature film Last Call. But enough shameless self plugs. Fistful of Molars. What's the premise? And maybe tell us a fun story about making something with there's just some fun gore in this movie, and like you tend to include a lot of this in your films. What's the process of doing some of that gore, and why include that in your storytelling?
For A Fistful of Molars, I mean, there's a little bit of gore. There's definitely less gore than there is for Skin Deep. That one is that's a lot. For Fistful of Molars, the premise of the short is it starts with a 6-year-old girl who discovers that if she gets teeth for the tooth fairy, she can make a lot of money, and things spiral out of control from that realization. Near the end of the short, there is more blood, to say, and to film that one, we didn't really have a special effects specialist on set for that. We had a really fantastic makeup artist, but there were no prosthetics or anything. So for that, it was literally just pouring a lot of blood in our actor's mouth, Steve Kassan, who you'll probably see in a lot of films, pouring a lot of blood out of his mouth and like prying his teeth open and just getting extreme close-ups. Because with a lot of in-camera effects work, if you're doing with like practicals, the further away you are, the more you can see. You can start to see the gaff tape on the walls. So I find sometimes you get really close on things and it's just a mess on screen, and I like that mess. The messier the better. So getting that was just pouring a lot of blood in his mouth and hoping he didn't choke on it, but he's a consummate pro. But getting those shots and then having him spit it out kind of thing.
Sorry. Go ahead. I was just
going to say
the that's me all the time cutting people off. Skin Deep obviously also has some amazing makeup effects. Before we discuss that, I want to ask, how often does your makeup artist get credit, which is actually due to a genius stroke of casting?
How often does the makeup artist get credit for a genius stroke of casting?
because
Are you
the
think
casting in your film is interesting, but I remember the first time I saw it, I thought, how did they get the makeup to look that good? You know, on
for Skin Deep? Yeah.
yeah.
For that, I kind of knew who I wanted to work with for the special effects process. Who the lead makeup artist on Skin Deep, special effects makeup artist, was Sarah Fian, who also does work for The Butcher Shop, whose work you'll see in a lot of feature films. And so I knew we were going to work with Sarah Fian. Casting was a weird thing. I think at that same party we met, I also met an actress named Ali Chappelle. And we were talking off and on, like after we met at the festival, and looking for a reason to collaborate. Ali's big into genre film, the genre film scene here in Toronto, and is a consummate screen queen. She's fantastic. And we had Skin Deep come into our laps, and we need to film it right away. And I was like, oh man, really want to work with you in this, but do you know, like, we need to cast an older version of you, like someone who's you, but like 30, 40 years from now. That's going to be a bit of a trick that we'll figure out. She's like, oh, let's just ask my mom. My mom will gladly do it. She directs the Evil Dead musical and is covered in blood daily. She loves this crap. So don't even worry about it. She's in. So I had a mother-daughter cast for that right off the top. And that just made everything super smooth because like they look exactly the same, just with a generation's difference.
I mean, that's funny because I met Ali at that same party, so that's funny.
Yeah.
That's where that came from. But I think what's interesting with that is that casting. Because I really thought it was makeup. I thought you had aged her up, and I was just like, I'm like, I need to find out who these makeup artists are and work with them. But you know, you pull off some like ace level Hollywood style, like the peeling. Don't want to give too much of it away, but like there's some really great stuff that would rival Hellraiser and some of the great sort of like, you know, skin horror out there. And it's also a bit of a love story. So it's a very strange little twist of things.
I
really
call it a gormance. So
gormance. I really enjoy your use of music in your films. You tend to favor sort of sweet and savory music. Maybe talk about how you compose your music or come to finding music for your film.
Well, for Skin Deep, that was mostly we worked with licensed tracks, and it was a classical licensed track that also moves into a bit more of a happy-go-lucky thing. So that was pre-licensed. A friend of mine, Kevin Kruglo, did some really nice sweetening. He did like some mixing, mastering to those tracks. That was pretty much though. We've got to do this within 3 minutes because we did this originally for a competition, the Reveeld International Short Competition. Which we runnered up for best effects. So close. But we need to turn that around quickly. So I didn't have as much time to work with a composer on that. So for that, it was just finding the right tune that suited the rough cuts at least. And I knew I wanted something kind of like slow and like something that like kind of like brought up like some kind of like sad emotions, like wishful thinking in the past, those kind of things, and found it pretty quickly, thankfully. For the other shorts, we had another classical composition that we used for ink, but then for A Fistful of Molars and the Trainee, those things were both different as well. It's a big, everything is different. I'm settling these days. I keep going back to one specific composer all the time. Her name's Daniela Pinto, but I don't think any of her work is featured in anything for Reveal. But that's going forward. So.
I think now the Trainee, correct me if I'm wrong, that was for a 48-hour film challenge.
We did that for a 48-hour film challenge. The version that's on Reveal is like the slightly sweetened version. The edit is pretty much exactly the same, but you know, you tweak that sound. I make the punches sound punchier, that sort of thing.
Sure. So talk about the process of, you know, for those in the audience that don't know what a 48-hour film festival is. Like, how does it come together? And then how much stress is that to finish an entire piece in 48 hours?
I'll speak to my personal experience. The 48-hour film contest is like the one that's in Toronto is like an international competition. So the winner of Toronto goes on to like a world's competition. And what happens is back before pandemic times, filmmakers would register in advance, and then we all go to the bar, the Monarch Tavern. I think the Monarch Tavern in Toronto, and they would the Monarch Tavern. I'm not even sure. No, it's not the Monarch. It's a different one actually. Monarch is where Blood in the Snow happens. And we all go to this bar, and we pre-draw our genres. So you don't know what genre you're ever going to get until you draw it out of a hat or an envelope type thing. And then you're like, okay, so for the Trainee, one of our genres was thriller, I believe. Oh no, it was superhero. It was superhero we got. And then at like the stroke of like 8 p.m. or something, they announce to the room, everyone quiet down. Here are the requirements. You need to have a character with this name. This is their occupation. At some point in the film, this exact line of dialogue has to be said or shown on screen, like handwritten on screen. And there's a prop, a cheap prop, but a prop that you have to include in your short film. That's the way they do it, so that people aren't like filming things in advance and getting stories in advance. So that, you know, you can film a comedy, but what if you draw horror?
Mm-hmm.
You're shit out of luck. So for the trainee, we drew a superhero. We had to have a character named Riley Ludwig, who was a door-to-door salesperson,
Okay.
and we had to have like a headband in the short, which was, we had superheroes, so it's like stick a headband
Easy.
on. It's great.
Done.
Yeah.
Natural.
So we did that, and the process to filming it is, what I would do is I pre-booked like 5 locations, and I told them, I'm going to tell you at like 9 p.m. the night before whether or not we're coming tomorrow morning or not. And so for this one, I called for them and said, thank you so much. We're not going to be showing up. And for the 5th one, which we actually filmed the trainee at Reveeld magazine,
Wow.
which is a lot of fun. But in like their nightmare basement, you could store bodies there. And we filmed in Rue Morgue the next day. In terms of the hair raising, is, oh yeah, once we draw that, we have to write it, of course. So the writing happens the night before, and I let go of the writing for these things. Instead, my partner Kira Hall and our friend Rob, I left them at home here, and I called them like, here's what you got. You got a half hour, pitch me your 3 best ideas,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm going to pick one. And then you got to go to town on that while I go to the shops around here to buy props, which in this case was a lot of spandex.
Yeah.
So you go to the costume shops and you buy some like cheap superhero crap and you bring it home. And then we, right up until like 1 o'clock in the morning, send those sides out to the actors. And then the next day there's still updates, but at least that way they know what's coming. And then the day of, it's we have like essentially a full day of filming and editing for me. And yeah, it's, you just kind of go at it. I find it's not any more hair raising than any other filming I've done. You still gotta get your pages done on the day of.
Yeah.
You have to like try and do your best to like respect the actors and respect the crew's time as well, because everyone's just volunteering. With something like what we were doing, with lots of like, there's a lot of physicality into it. You got to worry about set safety and such as well. You got to worry about all those things as you would normally. So it's not terribly different from that. The real stressor comes with the editing,
The
which
post
is
side of things. Yeah.
yeah, which fortunately most of it was in camera, like already good to go. And I made sure to record sound directly to camera too. We didn't keep it separate. I didn't want to worry about syncing
There we
anything.
go. Yep.
And just go there and make sure it's like, for this one, it's like, okay, we need some quick tunes. So I use my pre-licensing software to like get the music and make sure it's all legit as well. And just make sure you get some really loud punch sounds in there. And once you get those sound effects in, it kind of comes together on its own.
So it's what's fun about it for audiences of Reveal. Like, definitely check it out, because it's such a fun take on like the superhero genre. You know, I hadn't seen anything like it. You know, it's often a genre where you're like, what else could they do? You know, there's nothing left to do. There's no originality. And people say there's going to be superhero fatigue, but then people like yourself find a way to put a spin on it that we haven't seen in the world.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun with that. And this was like before The Boys was on Amazon and such as well, which I kind of ends up leaning towards that direction, as it would turn out a few years later. But we had a lot of fun with that. We've had a lot of fun. We've done 48-hour challenges twice now, and both times we won awards. We didn't win the grand prize of things, but we still won awards. We always advanced to the finals. And for the trainee, we're actually currently adapting that into a web series now, tentatively called I Save People. So we're in the process of writing episodes out for that, with the trainee kind of serving as we're planning it, but it's kind of like a proof of concept. We're taking the basics of it and reshaping it to work more as a series. So we'll see what happens.
I can see that. I can see it being a series. Well, that's it. We got to talk about all your films. You know, the whole goal here is to get people watching Reveal to check out more of our creators' work and get a little bit of insights as to who they are. So that's what's coming up. Do you have other you've been shooting shorts during quarantine as well, right? You haven't let it stop you.
No, can't stop, won't stop. I'm fortunate enough to live with my partner, who is a fantastic actor,
Mhm.
puppeteer, and I'm also able to like do my own cinematography. I can set up sound stuff. We have all the gear here, so we filmed 4 shorts in our apartment, just the two of us. Um, 2 of them are wrapped. I'm wrapping up another one right now, and a 4th one has got to wait until they get back from shooting out west, because they're on a TV gig out west in Alberta now.
Okay.
And then, yeah, I've got 2 more to shoot after that as well. And like some of them are extremely special effects heavy, like lots of practicals. Some of them have more After Effectsy stuff that I essentially have to learn how to do every time. We're having a lot of fun. It's
So
taken time,
around
but yeah.
so we can safely say that people should come back and look for more work from you on Reveal in the future.
Oh, most definitely, for sure. And hopefully film festivals this year too. We'll see. Who knows?
Don't know what those are. We don't need to talk about them on Reveal.
All
Never
good,
heard
all
of
good.
them.
But
Okay, okay.
never heard of them. But definitely coming, hopefully coming soon to Reveal in the near future. So
Awesome. Well, everybody check out Skin Deep, The Trainee, A Fistful of Molars, and Ink Written by Hand on Reveal. Ryan, thanks for joining me.
thank you so much for having me, Gavin.